Yeah.
It's your show. You're supposed to do it on your forehead.
Oh, sorry.
You're supposed to crush it on your forehead.
I'll have a big ring on my forehead the whole time. Okay, well, I want to hear your opinion on this episode because we're reviewing episode.
Are you gonna do Welcome to the Jam?
Oh yeah, Welcome to the Jam. So, what is your opinion?
All right,
I want to get into this
review of Rings of Power, episode 5, and later we will get to
talk about Cobra Kai a
season
little
5.
bit, which I think we have differing opinions. I'm guessing we have differing opinions on both of them. So I'm curious, first of all, what you thought of Rings of Power and where you are with it. So,
okay, so I went into the episode thinking you've got one last chance to convince me. That's about how I felt going into the episode.
So kind of a negative attitude, maybe.
Really negative, because the more I think about it, the more I dislike the show, the more I dislike the characters, the more I dislike the plot, the more I dislike the writing, the more I dislike the production of the whole thing. Is just bad stuff. So I went into it kind of thinking, okay, you got one more shot. Let's see what happens. I walked away from the episode thinking, okay. I mean, I kind of thought, okay, maybe one more will be okay, but overall, I wasn't impressed. I'd say the first half of the show, I was just like, this is so bad.
Okay. Well, maybe we're not as far apart as I thought. I think I came into it also pessimistic, but that pessimism caused me to feel, instead of like, I'm giving you one last chance, it was more just like, I don't care anymore. I'm just watching it, So I wasn't watching it critically. I was just watching it because it was like, whatever, we're doing a review of it. Got to watch it, sort of thing.
But it was boring. The first, I would say the first 2/3 of the episode was just boring.
So here's the thing, though. I enjoyed it. I think the fact that I went into it without a critical eye and without just kind of my attitude being like, whatever, let's just watch it. Just turning on a show with my wife, and we just watched it, and I actually enjoyed it. Like, I didn't love it. Like, I didn't walk away saying, "Oh, I love this show" or anything, but it was fine. Like, it didn't bother me that much. Now, there's things that bothered me, so I definitely have things to say that are critical of it, particularly the woke stuff. And in particular, one woke thing that drives you crazy, which is Bronwyn, I believe. Just all of a sudden that she's their leader somehow. And it just feels like woke. It just feels like this dainty little female becomes the leader.
That's exactly what I thought. Like when she goes up on the tower and she starts talking to everybody and she's trying to rally them to battle. And I'm thinking, okay, first of all, you're in a dress and you're obviously
half the height and weight of all the men there.
Yeah, she's
you're not a warrior. You're not
just a mother. Yeah. She's just a mother. So but she's up there, and then when the crowd kind of starts leaving, like she just sits there. She doesn't say anything.
Well, and then they turned her so she was all pessimistic and gonna give in, which that felt a little awkward.
Yeah, like they didn't even come to battle yet, and she's like, okay, well, I guess we're just gonna give up and go.
After she had just given this speech to rally him, and then decided that she's gonna quit on him, which was weird. So the writing in that regard, like
I said, really
making her
writing.
The leader, even if it had been a man, wouldn't have been good. Like, she hasn't really done anything. They haven't made her the leader. They haven't done anything. They just assumed because she killed one of the orcs that now she's the leader or something like that. But she hasn't actually done anything to merit leadership. And at least with a man, you'd have the natural inclination of a medieval times people would naturally turn to men to be their leaders in battle because men are naturally stronger. So at least it would make sense if it was a man in that regard, where they'd be like, the strongest man becomes our leader. But they don't even have that.
And
they just have no reason why she's the leader except that she killed an orc, and I guess that
no, and there's no way that they could look that in medieval times that they would actually, the crowd would look at her and say, "Are we going to let a woman lead us? Are you kidding me? What does a woman know?" Because that's how they felt back then, right?
Well, and what battle experience does she have,
woke.
and what? So
it was very woke. Yes, it was extremely woke.
So that was annoying. But not, I think that was the only thing. Trying to think of anything else, but I think that was the only thing that I was rolling my eyes out and annoyed at, rolling my eyes at.
Okay, so I'm not sure what the heck is going on with Isildur. I have absolutely no I am so confused.
Really? My wife was saying she was confused. After the show, my wife was like, I don't understand what's going on at all. And I was like, the elf's trying to get him to go fight Sauron. What is there to understand?
Okay, no. I'm confused. Isildur is being refused to go with them by his father.
Right.
Then his best friend refuses him. Then at the end, he's there.
Well, because he showed himself to be a hero by saving the guy who he actually tried to stop from burning down the ships.
But that didn't translate. It didn't translate.
Yeah, it wasn't really strong writing, but that was clearly the reason why.
Like there was no in between. There was no moment where Isildur's father says, "Okay, you must,
maybe
you
are
obviously
a man
got the heart
all.
of yeah, exactly." But but he didn't. All of a sudden he just shows up. And then the other thing that really bothered me,
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, okay, but then the other thing that really bothered me is his sister is chasing them through the streets as they're walking towards the ships.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
She is obviously, but she's very concerned. Like she really believes that is the last time she's ever going to see her father and her brother again. She doesn't want them to go. And her brother is just turning around, and the whole time he's just smiling at her. He obviously could have seen the look on her face, like she was truly afraid, and she was very scared. She was really worried. She wanted her brother and her father to stay, and all he's doing is just smiling at her, like, "Look at me, sis, I'm going." Yeah,
so that's funny because as you talk about these things and I think about them, yeah, I could totally see I'm highly critical of that. But when I watched it, I didn't think that because once again, I was just like, whatever, I'm just watching the show.
I saw it.
And when I was doing a review, I probably should have been more critical, but I actually enjoyed watching it more because I wasn't watching it with this critical eye. I was just watching it. And it was, yeah, like, why was she even so upset? Like, it didn't really clearly, like, I know there was some dialogue in there where she was talking to the buddy of hers she was trying to get to go talk to the bearded guy.
Yeah, that was his father, right? She's trying to get him to talk to his father and
to try to stop him from going,
thing.
But it didn't really explain why. Like there was no reason why, other than just randomly, she just doesn't want him to go. So her thinking, basically, she was a leftist. She had no reason for her passion.
No, I got the sense that it was because she didn't want them to go. She felt like it was a bad mission to go on, that it was going to bring destruction to them. I think that was the feeling I got for sure. I mean, and the son kind of felt the same way, and that's why he tried to sabotage the ship, right? And but another thing that really bothered me, and it kind of just came to light in this, and that is Galadriel throughout every single episode has a single personality. She has absolutely
no personality.
No personality whatsoever. She is one way and one way only. She has no other emotions. She is on or she's off, and that's it. And it was just really
she's
bad.
Not nice, not likable.
No, she's not. And the more I see her, the more I don't like her character.
Right. Totally agree.
And honestly, the same thing about the Queen Regent. I feel the same way about her.
Right.
She is just not likable.
So,
and then, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the things that I was critical of while watching it. So, things that sprung out at me, even though I wasn't watching it with a critical eye, had to be pretty egregious, right? This, when she did the sword fight thing where she fought all the men and beat them all, Now
Yeah.
that didn't bother me from a feminist viewpoint. I didn't feel like that one was like some feminist thing necessarily, because once again, I've said this before in other reviews, even though they didn't show it, they implied that she's been a warrior for hundreds of years
Hundreds
and
of
learn,
years.
and she's an elf, and so she's powerful and strong and everything. And so
Yeah.
other than, when they made the other elves weak, it was definitely more feminist. But when she's more powerful than the men, okay, I'm okay with that. But the way they filmed it, it was like watching a Mask of Zorro action scene with humor and silliness in the way that they were fighting and the music they were playing. It just did not feel Lord of the Rings at all. Like
Yeah, like Anthony Hopkins is beating Antonio Banderas, and
exactly.
it's
Yeah, it
and
was
it's
just this
comical.
sort of silliness, and I don't know. It just didn't play right for me, and it seemed a little too on the nose that they were trying to make it that way.
And they were supposed to be warriors.
And even then, I didn't hate it. Like it was okay. Like I wasn't really annoyed at it. I just generally, it kind of struck me as this could have been done better, or
Well,
approached
especially
differently.
okay, so when you say that too, you gotta. This was the impression I got when she first started walking up to them. Like she had this look of complete arrogance about her.
All right,
That
which is right
she
in line with her
was.
terrible personality.
Yes, it is right, and it makes you hate her that much more. I mean, she just is not a likable character at all. So
Yeah,
yeah,
there's a
I didn't like
smugness
it.
to her. That there's a level
Yeah,
of you can be cocky arrogant that is likable, like Han Solo or something, and then there's cocky arrogant that's just smug and kind of unpleasant, and she's the latter. And
she's very
I
smug.
don't think it has anything to do with, I don't think it's a different standard there. I don't think it's because she's female that I'm reading her differently. You never know. Maybe I do judge women a little harsher and would let a guy get away with stuff more, maybe, but I don't think so. I don't like her. And even
So
if,
what
I
did
don't
you,
know, if there is a different standard, so what? I think what I think, right?
so what did you think of the Harfoot stuff?
I actually enjoyed that this episode more than I have in any other episode. Um, I gotta.
So you know what really bothered me?
What?
Taking up like 3 minutes or 4 minutes or so of a stupid map.
Was it that
Like
long?
they Indiana Jonesed it. Like
So
they Indiana Jones this song because it was this whole freaking
I
song.
actually enjoyed the
This
song, like because it wasn't just the map; it was
fine, do the
montage.
song, but at least show something. Don't show an Indiana Jones map. I don't want to see a map. I want to see, they didn't do that
when it showed the map, it showed the dots moving. I agree that there was a level of, it's like that didn't feel very Lord of the Rings either, but
I mean, even in
it didn't
Willow.
bother me
So
that
like,
much.
but in Willow, they had this progression, and you could tell, when the party was taking Elora, um, and they were going through the forest, and they were showing different scenes as they were going through the forest, and all you're hearing is the music, but they didn't show a map. They didn't show the dots on a map.
Well, they have been using
And
the map to show where they are consistently. So if you took out the dots and you just showed the map moving like it does consistently throughout the rest of the series, it probably wouldn't have been. It probably would have worked a little bit better. But I didn't notice how long it
yeah,
was. Maybe it
didn't
was
work.
too long.
It
But I
didn't work.
actually
It was an
enjoyed the
entire
song. I
song.
enjoyed the song, and it was more than just the map. There was a montage of them, walking places.
There was
And
some, but it was like they didn't have enough footage, and they decided, how are we going to fill the rest of this song? Let's show a
to
map
show a
with
map moving.
dots
Yeah.
being
I could see it,
progressing.
but I was into the song. I actually liked the song, so it didn't bother me, I guess. It was very kind of little Irish brogue thing. So
No, I didn't like it. And then the whole thing about the Gandalf, who I guess is Gandalf. He is good. Is he bad? I don't know. That question still remains. I have absolutely no idea if he's good or bad.
sorry, who are we talking about specifically?
Gandalf.
Oh, the guy that we think is Gandalf.
Yeah, but I mean, is he good or bad? I mean, I just don't get it.
So
I don't get it. Who is he?
That brings up an interesting thought, another critique I had, I guess, in the show, that it's something that bothered me, but it was only a minor bother. Is when he's got his hand in the ice or in the water and he's turning it to ice to heal himself. And then the dumb Harfoot reaches out and puts her hand on it, gets caught in the ice. And then she runs away scared of him after that. And I'm like, you did that. He didn't do that. You did it. It really annoyed me. So
yeah, that was bad writing. And another thing about
well, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it so that they're scared of him because of his power, because he's expressing power, and they've been setting that up right from the start, where he accidentally killed what was it, Firefly, and then he said, "Am I a what was the term they used? Am I a danger?" What, that wasn't the word, but it was one of those words. And then he used his power on the wolves, and then he accidentally, but it was totally her fault, hurt her. And so they're trying to set that up like they're scared of him, but they're doing it not very elegantly. It's coming across clunky and
no, they're not. And if he is Gandalf, because I mean I do think he is.
If he's not it's dumb.
He's not old. But he's not old. That's the thing about them, is they were to appear as old men in Middle Earth, and that's straight from.
Are they not supposed to age, to have come and then aged into?
They don't age. Nope. They appear in Middle Earth as old men.
I'll have to take your word on that.
Well, that comes straight from A Guide to Middle Earth. So I don't understand why they are changing things like this, because he looks to be like 55 ish, something like that. He's not that old, and so I'm really not sure what to, again, it has me questioning what's going on. So overall, I mean, again, it kind of ended okay. The musical score again is just really bad. I was
going to comment on the music. I actually enjoyed the music on this one more than any other episode.
So I do like the men's choir that they have.
Yeah,
it's cool, but the end scene was too much like a television show. Like the end scene when they're with the
is a television show.
Okay, but I think we've established today that you can have a television show with extremely good production value. And I would say that, like, if you compare this to The Mandalorian, the music in The Mandalorian is way better than it is on this.
But I actually did enjoy the music better in this episode. I thought they had some really cool moments.
Well, like I said, the men's choir that sings, when they do that, it sounds good.
They had some cool chant things going on, and
kind of reminds you of Moria, right? The Lions of Moria.
Exactly. Yeah, of the Ring. That was cool. And even the music in the end when the ships were sailing out and all the big orchestral kind of bombastic music, I thought it was pretty cool. I actually liked it. I enjoyed the music.
I will say that I do not like. I dislike Elrond even more, because he's too much like a politician, like a diplomat.
Yeah, they've obviously made him that way. They want him to be that way.
Yeah, and he's not. I mean, come on, it just really bothers me. And then you've got the dwarf. So I'm actually starting to dig him even more, especially when he totally hoodwinks
about the table.
Elf King. Yeah, about the table. That was awesome. Like, he's so proud of his performance. That was good. Yeah. I did like that one. So again, there are some moments. The elf that's supposed to be helping the humans. Yeah. I mean, what happened to him? Because like in this episode, he's just kind of like, but you should, and then that's it.
Okay, so another question. Hellbrand, is that his name? Is Hellbrand Sauron, in your opinion?
No.
You think he's not? So no. I thought I had a moment in the show where I was like, oh my goodness, he is totally Sauron. I was like, it just, all the stuff clicked together with where I was like, he is Sauron. And I said something to my wife, and she's like, but I thought he was the king of the Southland. And I was like, yeah, the Southland is Moria. He's the king of Moria. They're telling you he's Sauron. And then the fact that he's a smith, and that's Sauron was a smith that taught them how to forge the rings of power. And the dialogue that he's saying about manipulating people and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it just clicked, and I was like, oh my goodness, he is so Sauron. And then as I was watching the rest of the show, I started thinking maybe he's not Sauron, because like if he was Sauron, his objective should be to get in with the elves to forge the rings of power. And yet he didn't want to go with, I thought he purposefully was trying to go with, get in good with Galadriel and stuff. But then he was like, I don't want to go with you. And he was mad at her, and how dare you make me.
He was adamant.
But they could still use that, because he did want to become a smith. Like he got his little guild badge thingy to be a smith. And so maybe his plan, he was thinking he was going to have the humans forge the rings of power. And so that was his plan. And then he changes to the elves because of what happens or something. So he still could be Sauron in that regard. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think he is, though.
Firmly no.
Yeah, I kind of think he is.
But the other, so you got the orc leader, and we still have absolutely no idea who he is. None.
Just some dude.
Just some dude with elf ears. He's like a wicked elf. And then you've got the whole story with the elf, giving life to the tree or whatever, and then it creates the mithril. I thought that was poorly done.
Yeah.
I thought it was cheap. I didn't think that the animation on that was very good. They could have done a much better job. So, like I said, on this one, I'm gonna give the episode itself. I'll give it 5 stars for some of the elements that were good. Like I'd like the dwarf.
See, that's so funny because we really are about the same on our rating. Because I might go up to 5.5, 6. But there's enough critiques that, even as we've been talking, where I'm like, no, it's probably a 5. So even though I'm talking like I enjoyed it more than you, we're about the same rating. And the overall series, I'm a little higher. I think it's edged up where it's the whole series. I'm at close to a 5.
No, see, I'm still 4.
And you're 4 still on it. Yeah,
I'm still 4. I think last week I was about 3.5.
I'm probably 4 point. I'm gonna go with 4.78.
For the entire series.
If you do all the math, that's what it works out.
I mean, it's like, where is it? So where is this thing going? It's moving so slowly.
Well, they're purposefully moving slowly, because it's a series.
Yeah, because they want to set it up for more for more seasons. But if you compare this to other series, like Game of Thrones, for example, Game of Thrones had you in the first episode. This hasn't even gotten me yet.
There hasn't been a moment yet where, I've been thrilled, where I've really been like, I got to see the next episode. Oh my goodness, what's going on? This sort of thing. And so I am hopeful. We'll see. So let's move on though to talk about Cobra Kai,
season 5.
Apparently they're doing another Karate Kid movie. It's been announced though. They're gonna,
I don't think they should.
They're gonna leverage off of Cobra Kai, I guess, and do it.
Yeah, that's pure. To me, that's pure. Disney is, you said?
No, I didn't. You must have misheard.
Oh, no, that's pure money grabbing right there. They should keep it at the series. They should leave it at the series, because the series right now is better than the movies.
I don't know. They make a really great movie. I'm okay. I'm on board.
The first movie was awesome, but this show is so dang good. What did you think of season 5?
So you had told me that, you kept, because you watched it before me, and you kept sending me messages saying, oh, it's so good. And so I went into it thinking, it was going to be really good, and found for the most part that I did not enjoy this season as well until the last episode. The last episode, just as good. Loved it. Loved the last episode. It was great. The rest of the season, I didn't dislike it, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it was no good or something. I enjoyed it. I just didn't think it was as good as the other seasons. I thought that some of the resolutions of things that they did. So if you haven't seen Cobra Kai, by the way, just like all the stuff we talk about, we're going to talk spoilers here. So if you haven't seen it, you don't want spoilers, you probably want to tune out. So like when Miguel and Robbie fought and then made up, it was just clunky and awkward. It just felt like this. It happened so fast. Like they're just fighting. And then all of a sudden he doesn't hit him. And then he's like, well, I'm sorry. Well, I'm sorry too. Okay, we're buddies now. And it just was resolved.
Yeah.
And like,
I didn't get that.
I think maybe just acting could have been stronger. Like if one of them had, sat down and cried or something, and there'd been more emotion and more powerful in the acting, maybe it would have worked. But I don't know. It just, and there were lots of those sorts of things where they just had these moments of resolution that just felt a little less elegant than, not that Cobra Kai is not really a totally elegant show in a lot of ways. It is kind of, meant to be a little bit lighter. And so you don't expect that level of, really,
it's
really
a little too, it's a little two dimensional.
Yeah, exactly. A little too perfect way to say it. And you expect that, and that's okay. This was just a little bit more that way than I felt some of the other seasons were, and so it was a little bit less. It didn't resonate with me quite as well in that regard. But the last season, or it's not season, sorry, the last episode, that had emotion and was moving and was cool as heck. Like I really liked the last episode.
So in response to your comment about Robbie and Miguel fighting and making up, I thought that they nailed it. And the reason why I feel that way is because when they're on the balcony and Miguel is starting to kick the crap out of Robbie, he's got him against the rails, and you have the flashbacks where he's thinking about what happened when he was against the rails and Robbie kicked him off of the balcony at the school. And he fell and he busted his back up. When he was doing that, like there was this, he kept going back and there was this flashback, and he's angry because of what happened because Robbie kicked him off of there, and then he starts to realize what happened to him, and he's kind of like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And I totally got that. Like he had this look on his face.
Yeah,
like,
no,
what am I doing?
I got that. That's what they were going for.
And then when it was over, he's like, what are we doing here? Why are we at odds with each other like this? And that's what I got. And I think he came to realize that the two of them have so much more in common because they both now hate Cobra Kai. They both have a father figure. And in Robbie's case, of course, it's his father. And now he's going to be, right. I mean, I'm sure they're setting it up so that Johnny's going to be Miguel's father-in-law or stepfather, sorry. And so I think I think they did a good job with it. I didn't have any problem. I was kind of waiting for that moment when they would be finally like, okay, let's put this crap behind us.
Well, and
they did a good job with it.
One of the things
and I thought Johnny facilitating that and being like, all right, guys,
right, that was pretty cool.
Go to town, yeah, get it done. It ends now.
It was actually a Johnny, or excuse me, the Daniel's idea, that was cool. I don't know, it just like some of there's always been a little bit of this in it, but I feel like it's been handled really well. But there was a little bit of level of misunderstandings were happening just because people weren't communicating. It was very sitcom or rom-com sort of misunderstandings where it's like the whole thing would be resolved if someone would have just said, no, this is what I meant. And then they would have been like, oh, okay, I see. Because, there's just these moments of like, how dare you do that? And then they just walk away from each other.
Every single season, though. Yeah. And every single season between Daniel and Johnny. That's exactly
but it works with
like.
Daniel and Johnny because Daniel and Johnny have history. And it's one of the things I love so much about this series is I love Daniel is so flawed. Like the guy he's such a good guy and he is the good guy and he wants to be a good guy, but he's a wreck. And I remember when I back in the days of the movies, like I actually Karate Kid 3 is unquestionably the worst of the three. And yet it really resonated with me because back then I was a teenager and I was going through some, sort of dumb things, teenage mess ups and, losing jobs or whatever. And so I kind of felt like a failure in a lot of ways. And so when I watched Karate Kid 3 and the plot of Karate Kid 3 is how he messes everything up because he's a flawed person. And it really resonated with me and I really liked Karate Kid 3 because of that. Well, this series takes that and does it even better. And it just shows how he is such a flawed person and he's got a temper and he makes mistakes and he holds grudges and he's just as messed up as Johnny, who's, kind of more on the nose messed up. And they just handle it so well instead of deconstructing their characters through this black and white lens of just, they could have so easily just made Johnny the good guy and Daniel the bad guy as their, the whole subvert expectations like they did with Luke Skywalker, right? They make him a mess and they just turn him upside down and it's totally out of character with Luke Skywalker. And instead of doing that, they just really, really smartly show him he's still a good guy and he's still a hero, but he's also so flawed. And they do such a good job of that. And that story arc for Daniel is one of the reasons why I love this show so much.
Well, I tell you what, one of the parts of the show that I really liked, one of the episodes was when Daniel, he's virtually breaking down Johnny's door, and he is just ready to throw down with him right then. And Johnny's trying to be really nice. He's got his place fixed up now because he's going to be a father. He's trying to do all
Daniel's
the right
drunk,
things.
yeah.
And now Daniel's, he's like, he comes in and he just wants to just totally go toe to toe with Johnny.
Yeah.
And so you kind of think for a moment, are you kidding me? That's what I thought was, are you kidding me, Daniel? Come on, man. And then Johnny's like, dude, are you okay? And Daniel's like, oh, he finally realizes that he's being the
jerk, yeah, because he really is a good guy. Yeah, he's flawed, but he's a good guy, and it really shows. And with Johnny too, it shows this idea of how everybody's flawed, but whether you're good or bad is all about your choices and your effort. And so even though they both make mistakes and mess up all the time, they're both making efforts to be good, and consequently, they're good guys, and you root for both of them, and it's really great that way.
Well, I think what the story arc of them becoming really good friends is really, really awesome. Like they are now just, they're there for each other when Daniel's put in the hospital. Like Johnny is there and he's just, he wants to help out.
They took their time doing, which was great too. They took 4.5 seasons to get, 4 seasons, I guess, to get there, which is great. Instead of just having it, that was not 2-dimensional. That they did a really good job of that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I thought I thought that they did a fantastic job making you absolutely hate the Cobra Kai. Like all of the Cobra Kai. And now you're starting to feel sympathy for the girl in Cobra Kai because she doesn't want to be there. She knows that it's all a lie. I thought the stuff between Daniel's daughter and the Cobra Kai girl, sorry if I don't remember their names, but it was really funny because now they are almost like the Daniel and Johnny situation. And now they're kind of, by the end of the season, you get to see them
semi-resolve that, or at least
semi-resolve it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that was handled better. That was pretty good. And that was one of the things that was resolved the way you would expect things to be really resolved, where and I'm spacing the names too in the moment too, but the daughter comes over, knocks on her door and says, hey, basically says, hey, sorry. And it's like that's what she should have said right at the start, right? Instead of them even getting in a fight. And so but
agree. And then the moment that was kind of I was looking at the television and I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It was when the one kid switches sides right in the middle of it. Like he just stops and he switches and he crosses over to the Cobra Kai at the very end at their
Oh,
dojo.
the
Miyagi, the fat kid.
Yeah, we won't say his
And
name because it's profane, what they call him.
but I mean, I was like, are you kidding me? I thought it was hilarious throughout the whole season how in different episodes he sees what the Cobra Kai have, and he's like, oh man, I wish we had that. Oh man,
Right.
I want to be doing that. Oh man, look at the stuff they have. And then at the end, it's like he.
So when you say, "Are you kidding
over.
me?" you don't mean that you thought it was bad writing. You mean that it was just like
No,
it was an
I was
emotional
upset.
moment. Yeah, yeah.
It was an emotional moment. You're like, are you kidding me? Why would you go from Miyagi-Do over to Cobra Kai?
Well, you explained it. He wanted the stuff, and
he wanted the stuff,
and everybody was mean to him and stuff. So
yeah,
which was funny because
and
as soon as he gets over there, he's like, "They don't call me this dirty name," and then
yeah,
immediately
yeah,
they call him that
a name.
That was great. One of the critiques I do have is the language. It seems like the language is getting worse, and
this season was really
in
bad
every
with
season,
the F-bombs.
and turning into real R-rated territory versus, the first season was a lot of language, but more like movies in the 80s. Movies in the 80s were kind of like that, but PG movies. There was no PG-13 back then.
Right.
And so it had a lot of that kind of language, and so I didn't like it, but it kind of was in the vein of what the Karate Kid was, and so but yeah, the language has gotten worse and worse and worse. So,
well, that's the way that cable and all of these other shows have now gone.
The standards are just kind of disappearing. It's really unfortunate.
Of language. Yeah, even on cable. I mean,
so it's the internet. It's the internet's fault. Yeah, streaming videos, and there's no standards. There's no FCC to set standards, and just like anything you watch can have that kind of garbage in it now. And so.
It's become typical now. I mean, it's like me going to work every single day because that's what I deal with every single day.
Yeah. It's very ubiquitous.
Very bad language, and it's too bad. Yeah, but overall, I mean,
did you love Chosen?
So you loved Chosen, and the part
great.
where I really was hoping to see him kick a lot more butt in this season, but he didn't. And
no, he didn't. But and then when they put him up against the bad guy in the end, he's drunk.
He's drunk, yeah,
and he still holds his own, and almost beats him. He still holds
his own.
He basically beats him anyway, but then gets distracted and loses in the end. And Johnny is drunk and still beats 4 out of 5 senseis that if you remember, Chosen and Daniel had trouble taking on one of them, and Johnny's taken on 5 of them, and basically almost winning.
Yeah.
and the funny part of it is the fact that he was drunk was helpful in his case.
Yeah.
He's just like, you think you could hurt me? I'm full of whatever he was drinking.
Well, and then you had a bunch of you did have some of the stuff in it where so he's fighting the guys, and then at the very end, I mean, I thought at any moment Chosen has got to come back in, but now you don't know what's going to happen with Chosen because now he's out in that water in the backyard,
bleeding.
And
in reality, he would have bled.
Yeah, you're thinking he's bleeding out. Yeah, you're thinking he's bleeding out, and then and then the other guy was knocked out cold. So I'm thinking, I thought that the guy that ended up saving Johnny, I thought he was going to come in way sooner.
The bad boy,
but he didn't.
I can't remember.
And then, I mean, Johnny is like within 3 seconds of losing.
And then Johnny's
his life
like,
because
I did most of this.
Yeah, that was so. That was very Johnny too, because Johnny's like this 1980s macho guy.
Yep.
He's got the music, the cars.
It fudged over the, and a lot of shows do this. I mean, obviously, but it was even more egregious that it fudged over a little bit how hurt they would have been. Like, you cannot get hit as hard and as often as Johnny did. He would not have stopped by to say hi to everybody and kissed his girl and all that kind of stuff. Like, he would have not even been able to walk. He would have been bleeding internally, broken bones, don't touch me.
Well, the one guy would have had a really bad.
The one guy could have had a cracked skull.
If not a
Chosen would have been bleeding out in the pool. Like they just kind of in the end they kind of just
Hollywood.
were like, well,
but it's Hollywood, man. That's what the heroes do.
It's just the Roadrunner and Coyote, right? It's all good. Violence doesn't actually.
The heroes can get shot in the shoulder or the arm.
You know, Daniel. They handled Daniel right when Daniel got beat up. He ends up in the hospital.
He was in the hospital,
and that's what would happen. Really, you know, you get hit like that often, and that's damaging. One of the other things I noted, it's not a critique per se, but I wish it would have been a little more handled, a little bit more. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but the levels of skill of how they are with their karate skills, is inconsistent sometimes. And I feel like it, like you know, Daniel gets totally beat up by. I wish I'm spacing the bad guy's name, but the ponytail guy. And Daniel loses to him, right? And I love that they resolved that in the end. I thought that was handled great, but Daniel, I mentioned it before. Daniel and Chosen struggled to beat one guy of the senseis, of the bad guy senseis. And then Johnny's able to take 5 of them on himself and almost take him down and stuff. And it was and you know, because Johnny and Daniel sparred, you know, they're about equal in their skills.
They are.
And so there was a little
Johnny,
bit like,
Johnny said it right. Yeah, Johnny said it right actually in one of the episodes. He goes, one kick. If I could have blocked that kick, I would have been champion. My life would be completely different. And that kind of just show the skill between the two. Is it was one kick that decided their fate.
Right. Well, and back in the day, there's no question about it. Johnny was a better fighter. Like Daniel was not as good of a fighter. That was kind of the point, though. He was the underdog. And but through the years, Johnny, having messed his life up, has not retained the same skills, and Daniel has increased his, and so they're considered more even now at the level. And Chosen is clearly better than either of them. But they're just, even with the kids, there seems this level of inconsistency where Robbie feels like he's so much better than other people, but then he gets into certain fights where he isn't as good. And like the little, I don't remember the kid's name that he mentors, the little
black kid.
Yeah, the little black kid. I can't remember. I'm so terrible with names, but the fact that he became so good and was able to hold his own against them.
Yeah,
it's not major critiques. They're okay. I'm fine with it.
But that kid, there was no coming into his own though. There, you didn't see that evolution of his fighting skill, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, he's in Cobra Kai now. He's just obviously
and they chose him to be their champion.
Yeah, and he barely, he barely fights in the show. I mean, he fights a little bit, but he doesn't fight that much, and that was poorly executed.
That could have used a montage of him training. You know, they could have done a montage. You're the best around. Nothing to get you down while he's doing all these running up the Rocky steps and stuff, right?
Yeah, the Korean gal being there was kind of cool. You didn't get to see really though the evolution of that, because you see the flashback of her at her father's dojo, and you also see the flashback of Chosen and how he's creating putting that pillow underneath the sand so that his fingers don't get hurt.
They dropped that.
They dropped it. I mean, you didn't get to see how he actually becomes
so good,
really good fighter.
Well, that is implied pretty strongly, you know, that he turned his life around after all he wanted to do was be a great fighter and be respected as a fighter. And after he, basically got into a death match with Daniel and lost and shamed himself, then the girl who was the girl in karate, I don't remember her name.
Kumiko.
Yeah, Yumiko.
Kumiko.
Thank you. She came and found him and kind of brought him back, and then he got his life on track and continued to train and stuff like that. So I think that story was okay. But yeah, the pillow thing they did kind of just drop that, where he's like cheating at his training. And
yeah, but I did really like how Chosen's personality came out, how he's like this
He's great,
especially when he laughs and he's joking around and stuff. And when he goes in the furniture store and he starts getting it with that guy, and Daniel's like, no, it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah. I liked almost everything about Chosen. Like it was really handled well.
Yeah, and finding out that he's in love with Kumiko
was cool.
He feels like
he drunk dials her.
Just not worthy.
Yeah, I love that.
He drunk dials her.
Yeah.
That was really awesome. Right. The one guy, the one bearded guy that everybody shunned, that the guy from Cobra Kai almost killed and put in the hospital, and then
the Stingray.
Yeah, Stingray. There you go.
His story arc worked out.
That was good. I mean, I did not expect that he was the one that showed up to the LaRusso's house. And,
right.
She's
that was
on the
done
phone
well.
with Daniel.
Yeah. Somebody's here.
And she's like, oh my gosh, Cobra Kai is here. And you're just thinking, oh crap, they've gone to the house again. They are going to start trouble.
Yeah.
Yep. So that
and
was
the best line in the whole
especially
series.
When he shows up. Like when he shows
come
it,
with me if you want to live.
That's the best line. That was so awesome.
That was so great.
That was really, really well done. Yeah. Oh man. And then of course he takes out the guys. I thought it was
which is great too. Yeah. And then he goes in and I loved that after they did that, when they go in, he's like, there's so many of them. And they're the A team, like implying that the guys he'd taken out weren't as good, and that's why he was able to do it. Or they're not the B team, or whatever he said.
So there was good. So there was good fighting in the show, but like you said, there was some of it that was just not choreographed well. They were slow. It was, you could tell that
they're all older. Yeah, they're not handling.
I would say, if they would have done the level of fighting in this last episode that they had at the end of season 1 at the high school. That fight at the end of season, was it the end of season 1 or was it the end of season 2 that they had the fight at the high school?
I don't recall, but it might have been 2, but yeah. At the high school where Miguel breaks his back,
where he falls. Yep. That one was no, it was the end of season 2, because the end of season 1 was when Miguel won the championship.
Right.
For Cobra Kai. And so the end of season 2, when they had that big old fight at the high school, that was choreographed so well. Like that fight went on and on and on, and it was so busy, and they kept going from one fight to the next.
And Stingray was great in that one too. He's like, I've got this, and starts just beating the crap out of kids that are half his size. So,
but I mean, that fighting was so good, and they just didn't bring that level of skill to the screen on that one. They didn't bring the level of excitement.
I was a little disappointed that when they did the competition to get into that special club or whatever, that they just had your best male fighter and your best female fighter instead of doing another competition. Because there's something, I understand why, because they're like, we've done the competition thing again. Do we really want to do a whole nother competition? But it's karate show. I think, I would have liked to see another competition where it showed them, doing more than just only the best male and the best female fighter. And then they could have used that to do like the story arc of the one, I hate to call him the black kid because it feels like that's all we know him as, but the I don't remember his name because I'm terrible with names.
The smaller kid.
In Cobra Kai that becomes they choose him to be their champion. Well, if he would have earned that through a competition, and by after he'd done some training, then he had won, and then he'd won, and then he'd won.
You just didn't see that evolution.
Then by the time he got to being kind of in the championship position, it would have made more sense instead of them just randomly choosing him. You're going to be our champion, which didn't make sense. And so, I kind of missed that they didn't do a whole competition there. I think that would have been cooler. But yeah, it was fine.
Yeah. So overall, I mean, so on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you give this season?
It's 7, and let's count the last episode, and then the last episode was pretty 9.78 for.
The last episode was definitely over 9.5.
It was really good episode.
Yeah. Very good.
But probably 7.5, 8, 7.5. I mean, still really good. I don't want to, rate it too low. the first couple of seasons, when I'd watched the first couple of seasons, I was like, this is the best thing on TV. It's so good. Like, I really love the show.
And season 4 was really, really good.
And yeah, so this season I'd say almost all the seasons I'd put them at 9s and above. Like, they're just really great show. It's a really great show. But this season I'd probably more like an 8, 7.5 to 8 as the overall
I'm solidly
season.
an 8. I'm solidly an 8. For the other seasons, I would definitely say 9, 9.5. Overall, though, the show solid 9, easy 9. Now,
Right.
I thought the arc at the end, or the twist at the end of Rhys not being dead was really interesting. Was a surprise.
I was
did not
surprised
expect
when he
that.
got stabbed, and then I was surprised when he wasn't dead. Yeah.
Exact same thing with me.
Yeah.
I thought for sure.
And the funny thing is, he didn't need to do it because he was going to be cleared now, and so the whole escape was for
exactly.
naught. And so it's a little bit,
Yep.
really interesting
Yep.
there. Yep.
And it just shows kind of how that he's really just a bad guy.
Yeah.
And he fakes being emotional with his therapist, and fakes that he's really sorry about all the things that
He's
he's
such an
done.
interesting character because
he's
he is a
not.
bad guy,
He's
but
not.
they've made him sympathetic too. And
They did, but he was lying the whole time.
well, no, just his back history, what happened to him, and losing his girl, and the difficulties they went through with the war and everything. They've made him a sympathetic bad guy from a certain point of view. It doesn't justify his being a bad guy, but it does make you feel for him in a way that you wouldn't otherwise. So,
but he also chose his life.
sure,
like he chose to have that
well, yeah,
life.
I mean,
And so I
being
think
bad
I
is
think it
always a
shows that
choice.
his heart. Yeah, I think that his heart is that he's corrupt, and so you do in this season kind of think, okay, maybe he is turning around, and then just the total twist at the end.
I bet they redeem him, or they try to
was well
redeem him in
done.
the end. That's my guess.
I don't know, man. I mean, now what happens to Cobra Kai? What are they going to call the next season? There is no Cobra Kai anymore. So what are they going to do? So
Well, maybe they're not. Maybe they're
if
just going to lead into the movie, and that's going to be the next Karate Kid movie instead.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I really don't know. I think that they have I was wondering at the end of this season if there was going to be another season because of the way they were wrapping it up.
It felt very final in a certain
It
in a
did,
way, yeah.
But then they showed Rhys, and they were like,
right, implying that there was more.
What?
And so we'll have to wait and see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. I think there is going to be, because obviously there's got to be a wrap up with Johnny. He's got to get married. You got to see that arc come full, all the way around. You got to have the birth of their kid. You've got to have I don't know what they're going to do with Chosen. I kind of expect that he's going to be he's not going to be in the next season.
Right.
That's kind of what I expect.
Which will be sad because he's awesome.
I thought it was really cool. So when Daniel's wife goes to Ohio, and she leaves him for a little bit and takes the kids, and she's hanging out with the one lady, and I didn't know who she was.
It was so funny way they were talking, and it clicked in, and I was like, "That's the girl from Karate Kid 3." And I recognized her.
I didn't get it. I didn't at first. Only until they did the it was only until they did the flashback, because I
got
saw
it before
Karate
the
Kid
flashback.
3.
I was proud of myself.
Yeah, a long time ago, I watched Karate Kid 3, so I didn't know who she was right away. And when they did the flashback, and I was like, "Holy crap, that is her."
Yeah, it was some line that she said where she was like, "Back in the day," and it was just like that. It just hit me. I just was like, "Oh, that's her."
Yeah.
And so yeah, so.
And it was neat because she got to Daniel was vindicated for the way he felt about the guy from Cobra Kai, because she was able to say, "Look, I was there. I saw what happened.
Yeah.
I saw what Daniel went through, and this is what he did to him, and he's doing it again. He's very manipulative." And when that happened, Daniel was vindicated, and so she comes back now. Now she's totally supportive of her husband. And she's just like, "Yep, take him to town." I love that at the end too, right before the fight. She's like, "Do what you got to do."
And the last fight, that was great. That was handled really well. So
it was. Well, he didn't even land a blow.
Yeah,
he did not land a blow.
He was really on it and ready and prepared. That he was able to hold his own. I loved it. Yeah.
Well, the part that I thought Daniel was going to start getting it is when he's on the ground. the other guy's on the ground, and he gets ready to jab Daniel, and Daniel catches him with his arm in his leg, in his knee. Remember how he pinned his wrist, and he's just like boom, and he gets like ah, and then he just jabs him in the face. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I feel like Chris Farley in Saturday Night Live.
So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see.
Remember when you did this? It was awesome.
It'll be interesting to see if they do another season. From a certain point of view, yeah, what are they going to do? Like, there's no more conflict left. Like, they've resolved all the conflict, and so they'd have to create a new conflict, which might feel a little false, and could hurt the ratings, could hurt it overall if they do that. But we'll see, because I do love it, so I kind of do hope they do another season. But part of me thinks maybe just finishing up with a movie would be great. So we'll see.
Yeah, you really kind of don't know what they're going to do. You're right. I just do think though that there's got to be something. Maybe they are setting it up for another film. Maybe that's why those rumors are out there, is because they're working on the film, and it's, I don't know.
Right.
How do you have a film? How do you have a Karate Kid without Pat Morita?
Well, Daniel has to. Yeah, just like the show is that Daniel has to take up that role, like they've done in the show.
But I mean, in the movies, you always had that Japanese flute going on, and it was just so good the way that they did that. But
it'd be more a spin-off of Cobra Kai than it would be a sequel to the Karate Kid. But yeah, so
it would have to be. But I don't know who's going to be in Cobra Kai now.
Anyway, so we're a little earlier than we are usually, but I think we've kind of run out of major points about that. We were going to consider reviewing Andor, but I didn't get the chance to watch it yet. So we may come back at you in a couple days with a review of that. And we appreciate you joining with us. Hopefully you enjoyed our thoughts on it, and we'll see you again next time around.
Like and subscribe if you like our content.
Later. Go Gators. Is that what you said?
Go Gators.
I think